Hey guys, so we're going to be doing a wee bit of history related today, and yes, it's full of stuff about Nazis, so this video will be demonetised. It's not all about Nazis, but like, you can't do World War II and not have Nazis in it, so if you could, check out the story down below. It helps out a lot to do stuff like this. But I feel like a lot of people get hung up on villains in their games, and they like to think like, oh, why would a villain do this? This is completely wacky. It's over the top. It's so unrealistic. Mm-hmm. And, the truth is, reality is fucking wacky, to say the least.
Yeah.
If you guys history at all on 4chan, you guys have probably seen this image before. I think it's hilarious. I think it's a lot of fun. So look, let's just get into it, will we?
Okay, so starting off with name, Adolf Hitler. Role, Führer. Notable incidents. He said he wanted to retire after the war and focus on his painting. Terrified of cats. Had 15 young women taste his food for poison before eating.
I didn't know it was 15. I know he had
people taste testing his food.
Why women? Why young women at that? Oh, because maybe they're not as strong like stomachs, maybe?
Yeah. Declared a random tribe of Native Americans he'd never met to be honorary Aryans. Refused to do so for Italians.
Why would they like that though? They would do that with like they said Slavs weren't like, yeah. Oh no, they're okay. I think they only said Slavs because it was ideal for them. It's like we really want to expand this way. So if we dehumanize these people, I think honestly half the time he was doing it, it was just because it made like
other people angry.
No, not even that. Well, it did make other people angry, but I feel like he just did those things just as an excuse to be like justify what they're doing a lot of the time.
Yeah. Claimed to be literally possessed by a mystical Aryan spirit to Mussolini. Mussolini felt completely disorientated and didn't know if he was joking or not.
He was not joking.
Convinced he was saved by destiny when Operation Valkyrie failed to kill him.
I don't know, it was a big heavy table.
Got blackmailed by his nephew William Hitler, who later left Germany and joined the US Navy. Had a favourite alligator at the zoo. Alligator was taken and is still alive in Moscow.
Oh, it is actually. Yeah, it's one of the oldest crocodiles alive. Oh, yeah, there's a guy on YouTube that did a video on it. It's actually really interesting, and it actually survived quite a few bombing raids.
Fuck. Watched Charlie Chaplin's anti-Nazi movie at least twice. Sent a guy to the Eastern Front for joking that swatting flies is a job for the Luftwaffe.
Yeah, you don't insult supreme leaders.
No. Wackiness scale, 90%.
I would put him higher than 90. I would definitely put Hitler way above that, personally.
Yeah. Name, Hermann Göring. Role, Commander of the Luftwaffe. Notable incidents. World War I ace fighter pilot who served with the Red Baron, major hero who joined the Nazis early on. Developed morphine addiction after being shot in the leg. Ballooned in weight, and was nearly always high as a result. Covered up his brother's crime of helping Jews escape because it would make him look bad. This only made it easier for the brother to keep helping Jews escape. I
mean, what else could he have done?
I know, he couldn't have really said, oh, by the
way, guys, my brother's kind of helping Jews out, you know.
I know. Delegated work to others so he could focus on collecting fancy art and designing new uniforms that had nothing to do with his job.
Yeah, he had so many uniforms. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm going to put it out here. Hermann Göring, I think, was a hyper-closeted gay fella. I'm convinced that he was.
Flaming.
Just because of how eccentric he was, but he was one of the only Nazi higher-ups that came from like nobility of sorts, and nobility.
It fucked me up whenever I found Hugo Boss on the Nazis' uniforms.
Honestly, you can't say that the uniforms they are aesthetic, to say the least, but they do look kind of evil at the same time.
Yeah, do you want to make an evil uniform? There, perfect.
But that's not a new thing with Nazis. That was a very old thing. Look at old Prussian uniforms. Yeah. Like, they've always had skulls. They've always had that type of stuff. Yeah. And it kind of makes sense to make themselves
even like kind of the spikes on their hat.
Oh, yeah.
In World War I, was that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, evil as fuck.
But maybe that evilness gives them an edge. Do you know what I mean? Like, would you want to be fighting?
More fear-mongering.
Yeah, exactly. Would you want to be going up at people that look
evil?
They look dastardly. They look like they're gonna fuck your day up.
Only major Nazis who didn't mind jokes at his expense. Loved hearing fat jokes. Owned multiple pet lions.
Oh yeah, he also, like, guys, you're gonna have to forgive me, I'm gonna be interrupting this quite a bit, but he did like to recreate mythical hunts from like Norse mythology, and yeah, he would onto his estates, he would import exotic animals, and him and a load of like Nazi higher-ups would go out on like mythical hunts and hunt them with like spears and shit. It's really weird stuff, but they wanted to like recreate that Hyperborean, you know what they wanted to do? They wanted to recreate German Arthurian legend.
Yeah. After the Luftwaffe was destroyed, spent the last year of the war throwing crazy drug parties because he had nothing else to do. Put in charge of a 4-year economic plan, despite having zero background in business.
I would argue Hermann Goering, I would say he's probably one of the biggest reasons why the Germans failed. Stuff like him saying, you don't need to send reinforcements to Stalingrad, because sure, you don't need to worry about supply lines or anything, because the Luftwaffe can just airdrop all the supplies they need, which was not possible.
He was just there for the bounce and actually didn't have a fucking clue what he's doing.
Yeah, I think the drugs played a major role in all Nazi higher-ups programs.
So, Hermann Goering wackiness spectrum?
90.
Name, Heinrich Himmler. Role, commander of the SS. Notable incidents. Owned a secret wizard castle.
Yes.
Yeah. Tried to restore the Knights of the Round Table. Built a crypt to house rings of dead SS officers to bind them to eternal SS service. Okay. Fucking...
Honestly, can we
Morgoth?
But can we make Heinrich Himmler? I think he can make into an excellent necromancer or lich.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if any of you guys are going to be doing like a Halloween special where you're going to do some spooky undead stuff, honestly, undead SS, throw in Heinrich Himmler, it's going to be so much fun. Who doesn't like killing Nazi zombies?
Exactly. Tried to escape the British by calling himself Heinrich Hitzinger.
You know what really gets me is World War II, Hitler was best mates with a guy called Himmler. What the fuck is this? Hitler and Himmler. That's some fucking Super Mario shit.
I know. Instituted a breeding program between Norwegian women and handsome Germans. Tried to save a Jew who looked Aryan if he'd say he had a German ancestor or parent. Jew refused. Believed he was the reincarnation of an ancient German king and Hindu god. Employed a child molester as his chef.
As his chief advisor. Is that your guy?
Chief wizard advisor?
Oh, was that Dewar? I can't say his name. I'm just going to flash an image up. Yeah, see any stuff you've ever seen about like the really extreme stuff with Nazis in World War II? It was him. He was everything that's written about him is 100%. No, this guy was fucking next level. If you want to recreate, okay, if you're going to make Heinrich Himmler your evil, lich, warlock, whatever, put this guy in as your edgy player, and you will get the hyper edge. I can't think of a more edgier real life human being
than your man.
Yeah.
Allowed a gay Jewish SS officer because he could help find the Holy Grail.
I mean, if you're going to find the Holy Grail, you got to find the Holy Grail, you know.
Was professional chicken farmer between wars.
Yeah. It's such a... See, this is the type of shit you just can't make up. Why is it so funny being a chicken farmer?
Joined a dueling club with a Jewish president.
You know, this is what gets me with a lot of the Nazi higher-ups. They would be like, yeah, Jews, all this. But...
Unless they were okay.
You know what? You may be...
Unless they helped you in some way.
You may be subhuman and all that, but... You're not a bad guy. I can, so even, are we going to say that even Nazis could, no, I'm going to judge people on their character,
yeah.
Not who they are. Yeah, this video is definitely demonetized, guys. But let's keep going.
Wackiness spectrum, 140.
Yeah, I would definitely say he's the wackiest one of them all.
Joseph Goebbels. Role, Minister of Propaganda.
Right, why the fuck is
why
the
Nazi... Why has he got no chin?
How the fuck can now, don't get me wrong, Goebbels was possibly the greatest propagandist of all time. You can't say what he did...
The way he was able to...
create stuff out of thin air and be able to actually pull it off. You can't say that he isn't a pure genius when it comes to what he was doing. However... just look at the fella for 5 seconds, and how the fuck does he fit the Aryan masterpiece? By their own standards. By their own standards, come on here.
I know. But you can say the same with Hitler.
Hitler had a jaw compared to that, and had a mustache compared to this wee
dweeb.
Okay, let's go back. Did Hitler said, you know what? I'm sorry, Italians aren't going to get into the aren't allowed into the Aryan Club. I'm sorry, guys. But Joseph Goebbels, you're getting in. What?
This whole video is just turned on an actual roast of the Nazi party.
Don't worry. If you feel like we're being too mean to Nazis.
Too mean to Nazis.
We got way more. We've got them all. So this is going to be a long video. That's all I'm going to say, guys.
Oh, notable incidents. Murdered his 6 children because he didn't want them to live in a non-Nazi world. It's
worse than that. They sat down to dinner and they all got around the table, and he just had a big thing of grenades and just released them onto the table. So he did. Mind you, this was during the Soviets in Berlin, so honestly it was probably a better death.
Goring and Himmler didn't. Their kids were released by the Allies unharmed. Fuck.
Though Goebbels did stay with Hitler, them other ones did make a run for it in the last week. He stayed to the very end.
Created a military unit of children, amputees, and old men. Couldn't even get them enough guns.
Yeah, it was the 6th Army's defence of Berlin. Absolutely dreadful.
Was 5 foot 5 inches, 165 centimetres. So, your height?
Megan, I'm taller than that.
Okay, you're 5'6".
I'm 5'6", 5'7", alright?
5'7".
Look, I'm going to embrace my Dwarven or Hobbitish ancestry, okay?
Doctorate in philosophy. Wife's stepfather was Jewish. She made no attempt to save him. He died in camp. Goring believed his wife was cheating on him with Hitler. Evidence for this is sketchy at best.
They were always trying to do one over on each other, though.
Was once insulted by Goring. He said someone with his face shouldn't talk about the glory of the Aryan race. Goring coming in with absolute roast.
I mean, like they all took a piss out of Goring for being fat as fuck. I don't know. There's very few of the Nazi higher-ups that you could actually be like, you know what, they actually do look like they're like 6'7".
Yeah.
They how many of them look like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Not many.
None of them look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
None. Huge inferiority complex to Hitler, according to everyone. Considered to be Hitler's most loyal servant.
I would say he was.
Took 5,000 active duty soldiers out of combat to make a propaganda movie in 1945.
I would honestly say that making that propaganda movie was important.
Yeah.
Because
for their cause.
For if you're going to look at it from their point of view.
For their
that's the saddest thing about it all. They could have just thrown in the towel, but instead they decided, right, well, if we're going to lose, we all know we're all going to be hung, so why not let everyone else suffer with us?
Yeah.
Which is embarrassing to say the least. And that's where I believe that propaganda movie was probably very important for them to keep the fighting going and to stop them all from just surrendering.
Wackiness spectrum. What have I been calling this?
I can't remember. It's just called. It's a spectrum. You can't deny that all the Nazi higher-ups were definitely on the spectrum. This is what happens. German autism has fucked up Europe too many times. German autism has been. You know what? We're going to get it in the comments. Oh, you're just saying that the eternal Anglos always up to no good.
Wackiness spectrum 90%.
I don't know if we can I don't know if we can post this on YouTube anymore. Will we just keep going?
Will we post this on YouTube?
Come on, we're already this deep in.
Fuck it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Reinhard Heydrich. Role. Director of the Gestapo. Notable incidents. Got the job because he'd read a British book about spies and knew some of the lingo.
That sounds exactly the type of thing that Hitler would be. You know what, this guy, I like you. Yeah, you know what, let's put you in a job that you've never done before.
Yeah. Earned the names God of Death and Man with the Iron Heart. Died when he took an open roof car into an unsecured road and assassins came for him. Instead of just driving away, pulled a gun and ordered the car to stop so he could personally shoot at them, thus giving them another chance to kill him. Hitler personally blamed him for his own death. then ordered attacks on the assassins' villages, murdering 1,300 innocent people. Churchill wanted to bomb German civilians in retaliation and had to be taken down. Had to be talked down, Jesus Christ. Wackiness, 60. Joachim von Ribbentrop.
Ribbentrop.
Okay. Role, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Notable incidents. Believed a secret cabal of noblemen ruled Britain.
Well, look, I'm not going to say...
not going to get into that.
I'm not, like, this video's already bad enough. I'm not going to talk about that.
King of England tried to shake his hand. He thought he was doing a Nazi salute. Did one in return, but accidentally smacked the king in the face. Tried to make it look like his own fault. Demanded all British diplomats do the Nazi salute. Overruled by Hitler. Tried to get the USSR to join the Axis without asking Hitler first. Tried to negotiate for the return of German African colonies without consultating Hitler. After Hitler told him to stop, he continued to agitate for them without asking for them back, confusing the British and the French. Got an elderly woman to adopt him in his 30s so he could add a von to his name.
Is that not like a Gord or something like that in German?
Something like that. Later complained when Göring wouldn't use the von, so Göring tried to smack him with a baton but couldn't reach because he was too fat! Wackiness scale, 80. Albert Speer. Role, Minister of Architecture. Notable incidents. Engaged in mass slave labour of Jews because he wanted to build cool-looking buildings. Convinced Nuremberg judges to kill his subordinates for carrying out his plans while sparing him because he opposed the plans he himself had ordered. After release from prison, wrote several books about how he was the good Nazi.
That's, like, you get that in any war after anything. All the generals are going to write their memoirs and be like, okay, and just shift the blame off to everyone else. That's nothing new. Like, Churchill did it, and I'm a massive Churchill fan. And like, you can't take Churchill's history seriously.
Yeah,
everyone knows
he was an asshole.
He was an asshole, but I can't help but love him.
I know. Wackiness scale, 20. Martin Bormann. Role, Hitler's chief of staff. Notable incidents. Hated his brother so much that when he was told by Hitler to deliver a letter to him, he found another random guy and told him to do it. Once had to meet Hitler in the presence of his brother. They stood side by side so they could face Hitler without having to look at each other. Slavishly loyal to Hitler. Hated by everyone. Tolerated only because he was genuinely a fantastic office worker. Officer worker? This boy just sat behind a desk. Body found in the side of the road, then disappeared. No one knows how he died, only when and where. Convinced Hitler that if Göring asked who leads Germany after he kills himself, he must be planning a power grab, so Hitler arrested Göring. Wacky scale, 50.
Honestly, I consider him to be the most boring of them all. There's really nothing to him.
Yeah. Name, Rudolf Hess. Role, Deputy Führer. Notable incidents. Stole a plane so he could negotiate an end to the war with Britain by speaking to an unimportant Scottish noble he'd never met, but had heard about from a guy who he'd met him one time years before. Did not consult Hitler before doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
brave.
I mean, that's a bold move.
That's a fucking bold move.
Let's see how that plays out for you.
During his trial, claimed to suffer from amnesia to avoid answering questions. Finally admitted he was lying. Hanged himself in prison in 1987 at the age of 93. Why at 93? Like, come on, another 6 months you'd probably die.
I believe, honestly, it was to do with the reason why they hung them and they didn't line them up and shoot them is because hanging...
No, he hung himself.
Yeah, I know he hung himself, but it's also to give them the satisfaction of them killing them.
Oh, right.
I believe the whole idea of, like, Göring was really opposed to this, and that's why he hung himself, is because they believe that hanging is reserved for thieves and the like, and being shot by a firing squad is meant for someone of their stature, if that makes any sense. Right. And they were, does that make any, kind of...
Expert astrologer, practicing physics. Wackiness scale, 80. Karl Dönitz. Role, Commander of the Navy. Notable incidents. Specialised in submarine warfare. Probably did the most damage to the Allies of any single German officer.
Yeah, most definitely.
Escaped execution for his crimes because the British were also guilty of most of them and realised it would be super awkward to prosecute him. Got appointed as president of Germany after Hitler's death solely because he was the most important person left who was definitely not involved in any attempts at assassinating Hitler. Only major action as president was to stall the Russians as long as possible to let soldiers escape west and surrender to Americans instead. Wackiness scale? 0.
Honestly, yeah, there's nothing really to him. He was kind of... But he wasn't really in the Nazi clique,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's so weird because you don't really get... Well, you do get it with other countries, but when it comes to, like, Nazis during World War II, there's definitely that inner circle.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Blondie. Hitler's dog. Gift to Hitler from Martin Bormann. Stayed with Hitler even in the Führer bunker. Hated by Eva Braun. Hitler's love for German Shepherds made them popular in Germany during World War II. Mother of 5 puppies. Hitler was giving cyanide capsules by Himmler. Later came to view Himmler as a traitor, but couldn't get more poison, so he tested one on his dog, became inconsolable when it worked. After Hitler's suicide, his animal handler took her puppies and shot them so that the Soviets couldn't capture them. Hitler loved German Shepherds because he owned one between wars, had to sell it because of money, and it escaped its new owner and came back to him. Extremely good girl. Wackiness, 20.
I mean, I don't care if you get Hitler's dog, you're still a good boy or girl. Like, you know...
End of.
I like...
No more said about it.
No more said about it. Dogs don't...
Dogs don't have a political spectrum.
Exactly.
She was just being loyal to her master.
Yeah. Like, so that's the Nazis one. I'm sure there'll be a lot of... I'm sorry, I'm just going to put it out there. Absolute fucking retards in the comments are like, Nazi, you talk about Nazis, you're a Nazi.
So you can't talk about them
this
now?
This is, oh my god, I absolutely despise it. As I say, this video is most definitely never getting monetized.
Yeah.
Because you cannot... Any of their names cannot be in
any video.
And we've spoken about them enough. We're going to move on, so we are, to...
I think it's a mixture of like Italian and Japanese.
Yeah, Italian, Japanese, French all that. And then we're going to finish off the Allies at the end. But, you know, if you have any other stuff that was missed out, I think this is a really good... I really enjoy this because you can't deny the Nazis were not fucking weird.
Yeah.
Anyone that says the Nazis weren't weird, you're lying to yourself. They were fucking bizarre.
Oh, they were.
But again, I'm a really big fan of Nazi occult type. Like, I love Indiana Jones, all that type of stuff. I love Cold War stuff. I love, you know, the weird like conspiracy type stuff. I think it's fascinating stuff, and I do believe you could throw any of the stuff about these people into your maybe Halloween special, maybe. You know, you're trying to do something a bit spooky, or maybe something a bit more overarching. Maybe you just want something a bit wacky. Yeah. Personally, you should really be using Hemgerd, just saying, because I think Hemgerd's the weirdest one of them all. And
right, let's move on.
Right, let's just keep going, will we? All right.
Right, you slimy gets. As you know, we got all the gobble slaves hard at work keeping the printers tickety-boo. Some of them are even getting a bit sex deprived and start making naughty models of their own.
Ooh.
But at the minute, we only paying them in bottles of water. But if you buy models from us, we'll be able to pay them 1 gold piece a week. That's proper good wages for gobbles of cat. But if big titty goblins aren't what you want, we got it all. We got dwarves, elves, illifids, demons, kobolds, all that, and even some of them ugly humies. But you can only get it on that WW2 thing, Neckbeardia.co something. I'll get one of the goblins to do it, they're more tech savvy than me. Also, we got more than just models. We got a lot of them subclasses and pre-made adventures too. Proper good that. We play it down Thursday night down the local tavern. We get a pint of grog and we sit down and play it. Big Morgie last week played as that crackhead monk, and he was actually quite good at it, seeing as he's not right in the head ever since the barmaid whacked him for smacking his tits. But, yeah, go over and check it out. That's all me. That's me done. See you bye.
So, name, Benito Mussolini. Role, Prime Minister of Italy. Notable incidents. Parents disagreed about baptism, compromised by not baptizing him, but instead sending him to a school run by monks, got expelled when he stabbed another student. Wrote a romance novel. Short career as a teacher. Your teacher.
you can't tell me Mussolini was fucking odd.
Got kicked out of Italian Socialist Party, invented fascism as a response. Said the USA, Britain and France were doomed because of low birth rates, and that the USA would be taken over by high birth rate blacks. Had no formal position, just marched to Rome and told the king to appoint him as Prime Minister. King obeyed. Did not hate Jews at all, considered Italian Jews to just be normal Italians. Called the master race idea nonsense, stupid and idiotic. Was arrested and imprisoned in a ski resort. Extremely scared that people in the future would think Hitler invented fascism instead of him.
Well, that is true. People don't.
People don't
think of Italian fascism, even though it is the original. One of the ones I find fascinating, like the biggest one, is the whole Nazi salute. That is actually a Roman salute, and it was Mussolini that brought it back into back in vogue, let's say. And then whenever Hitler really liked it, he thought it was really cool, so he said to them, like, "Oh no, we're going to start doing this as well." But like Hitler was like, "No, that's like some Italian sort of thing. No, I don't want to do this." But Hitler was very defiant on, we're doing this salute, which is kind of fascinating, because it's such an iconic Nazi. But if you think of when you think of Hitler, you think of the mustache and the salute, and that's what I picture.
Wackiness scale 60.
Yeah, he was pretty average, but he managed to hold on to power for some amount of time.
So long, yeah. Name Victor Emmanuel. Role King of Italy. Notable incidents. 5 foot? This boy was 5 foot?
Yeah, well, Italians do tend to be kind of short.
But 5 foot boy?
Yeah, that's
my mum.
Yeah, that is.
That's my mum. Oh, did he wear platforms? Given following advice by his father, to be king, all you need to know is how to sign your name, read a newspaper, and mount a horse.
Honestly, that sounds pretty spot on to me.
Only major leader during both World War I and World War II. Had opportunity to just end fascism right away. Appointed Mussolini Prime Minister, anyway, because it meant communists couldn't seize control. Had power to remove Mussolini at any point. Waited until Americans reached Italy because he was afraid people wouldn't listen to him. Declared Italy would join the Allies during World War II without telling any generals. Thousands of Italians were left in German-controlled territory to die. Abdicated throne after World War II to convince people not to vote the Italian monarchy out of existence. Failed. Wackiness scale 40.
See, this is the type of thing where I feel like monarchy really is a roll of the dice. Sometimes you get amazing monarchs, some of the best there ever was, and other times you get people like this guy.
He literally is winging it.
Yeah, like
winging it.
Either him or even Tsar Nicholas. Tsar Nicholas was shit here.
Yeah.
Like, he was bad.
Yeah. Hirohito. Role Emperor of Japan. Notable incidents. Legitimate scientist in marine biology, built a laboratory in the Imperial Palace and published several real scientific papers. First Japanese prince to leave Japan and visit Europe. Immediately played golf and bet on horse race. Royalty was forbidden from directly handling money, so he told his aides to do it.
I always think that's a big thing in Asia when it comes to, like, for some reason they always find money to be very
dirty.
Any like nobility class always does find money to be very dirty, and that's why merchant classes are even though they do swell up and actually develop a lot of power over time, that's why they're normally used as scapegoats for the nobility. Like, you can be a noble but actually be piss poor.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Almost didn't marry his wife because she had a colourblind relative. Ate fried egg, sausage, bacon, grilled tomato, and English tea for breakfast every day.
A man after my own heart.
Built golf course and palace. Ordered civilians of Saipan to commit suicide if the island was captured by Americans because he disliked the idea of white people capturing Japanese civilians. Tried to convert Japan to Christianity after a feat because he thought the Americans would go easier on fellow Christians. MacArthur forced him not to. Wackiness scale 50.
It's so hard to say what Hirohito was up to because the way the Japanese government was formed, it's hard to tell if he had any power or not, because they've done this throughout Japanese history with the shogun and stuff, they can really change out, does the emperor have any say in anything?
Same as the Queen of England, she doesn't really have much say.
Yeah, but with Japan, it's really because they treat them as literal gods. We don't treat the Queen as a living god. I mean, some people do.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say if Hirohito actually had any say in, and that's why he got off with a lot of the big war crimes that Japan did, because no one really knows.
He doesn't look that old.
No, he wasn't. He was very young. So he was very young.
Name, Tojo. Role, Prime Minister of Japan. Notable incidents. Agreed by everyone to be the most humourless man in Japan. Had no hobbies except bringing paperwork home with him. And just an ordinary man with no shining talents. Kept trying to resign after he realised the war was lost. Hirohito kept forcing him to stay until important generals wanted him removed. Blamed Theodore Roosevelt for not letting Japan annex all of Siberia after the Russo-Japanese War. Hated Americans afterwards.
Honestly, but that's the thing. If this is the racism that was at play here, because Japan's not part of the the European powers, they're kind of looked down upon, and even back then they were seen as they're really good for the Asian powers, and that's kind of the best way they looked at them, and they refused. Even if it was any other European country, they would have been able to annex a lot of Siberia, but because they weren't the light colour, let's say, they were like, no way, we're not having that, because then they thought, well, if we let Japan does this, what happens if other of these lesser peoples, in quotation marks, decides to do it themselves, and we can't let that happen, even though they rightfully did. And at the time period, that's just how war worked.
Slapped people in the face while giving them orders because he thought it helped train people not to descend from samurai.
Why are they like this?
Planned to annex Australia, New Guinea, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, Alaska, Hawaii, British Columbia, Yukon, Washington State, Ecuador, all of Central America except Mexico, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, all Southeast Asia, and Macau.
But that's just the Japanese really did want they wanted an empire.
They wanted
They wanted the empire, so they did. Honestly, I feel like Japan, if they had really wanted to, I think they should have just had that war with China and not get involved with anywhere else. I know, they got to bother with the British over, because a few of the Chinese cities were under British control, like Singapore and whatnot. But I think if they had just kind of left them and just focused on a bully in China, I feel like if they hadn't gotten involved in the rest of World War II, they could have maybe slid
under the radar a bit.
I think they could have. I think because a lot of people there was too much going on at the time, and I think if they just didn't get involved and just said, you know what, we're going to gobble up China, they could have got away with it.
Yeah. Wackiness scale, 60. Name, Phabun. Role, Prime Minister of Thailand. Notable incidents. Extreme Thai nationalist despite being half Chinese. First name means strange in English. Given it because he looked bizarre as a kid.
Was he really ugly baby or what?
Loved Mussolini and tried to fashion all of his ideas and styles based on him. Loved Thai traditions but wanted Thailand to look civilized to the West. Forced everyone to wear Western clothing and eat with forks instead of their hands, as was tradition. Favourite book was named Jews of the East, which was about the Chinese minority living in Thailand.
Why is that a thing?
Due to the way time zones worked, was invaded by Japan both before and after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Only Axis leader allowed to regain power after World War II. Americans liked that he hated communism.
Yeah, well, you look as long as
you're a fascist, but you don't like communism.
Beast. No, but they did that quite a bit. The Churchill trying to rearm the Germans, be like, no, we need to go on the offensive now against Russia. Yeah. There was lots of really weird stuff going on.
Name, Carl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim. Role, President of Finland. Notable incidents, separated from his first wife in 1902. Took until 1919 to bother divorcing her. Was involved in an aborted Russian plan to invade China pre-World War I. Got a surprise birthday visit by Hitler when he turned 75.
Imagine Hitler showing up at your birthday.
Hitler, one of those big cakes, strippers jump out of Hitler going, surprise! Hello! refused to be president due to age and bad health, was forced to take job by government against his will. Knew that Hitler hated smoking, so he lit a cigar right in front of him. Ordered Finnish Jews to fight alongside Nazis. Taught the Dalai Lama how to fire a gun.
That's pretty beast, not gonna lie. Like, I will give the Finns a lot of credit in World War II. Like, I do think they just wanted to be left alone, and and the way that they were able to deal with the Russians was absolutely amazing, to say the least. I will give the Finns so much credit. Especially because the Russians were just being very opportunistic at the time, and then they got bitch slapped about, and the Russians did win in the end. But I will give the Finns credit. They're one of those groups that they fought above their weight class and really should not have been able to defeat the Russians, but the Russians were just so incompetent.
Yeah. I didn't do the Prime Minister of Thailand's wacky scale.
Oh,
he's 60, and the President of Finland is 20.
I don't know, teaching the Dalai Lama how to shit's pretty base.
Yeah, it's pretty base, not gonna lie. So, name Boris III. Role, King of Bulgaria. Notable incidents: father got himself excommunicated from the Catholic Church. Godson of Tsar Nicholas II. Had his marriage legally registered by Mussolini. Agreed to join the Axis but refused to declare war on the Soviet Union. Still declared symbolic war in Britain. Spent entire war trying to avoid sending Jews to Hitler by using increasingly insane ideas, including sending them to Palestine via Switzerland. Died of heart failure in 1943, possibly poisoned. Full name: Boris Clemens Robert Maria Prius Ludwig
Xavier.
Stanislav Xavier. Yeah, okay. Wacky scale, 20.
Sounds like pretty average king to me. Nothing out there. Kings on average tend to be a bit weird anyway.
Yeah. Name: Vidkun Quisling.
Quisling?
Role: puppet leader of Norway. Notable incidents: felt Norway should join World War II was vague about whose side.
I mean, I don't know who to join, but, I think that we should definitely join in. I mean, you never know what you're going to get.
Sounds like a lot of fun, lads. I'm not going to lie,
we don't know what we're going to get out of it. The thing is, you got that quite a lot at the end of World War One and World War Two. All them, minor countries that are,
join and be like...
Because if you get to join in, you get a seat at the negotiating table, and you might be able to get entitled to some of the plunder.
Join Communist Party, then Fascist Party.
A lot of people don't believe me whenever I say this, but honestly, fascists and communists actually have a lot in common.
A lot in common.
They overlap on quite a few
many
issues.
Things. Uh-huh.
I mean, I know Nazis aren't.
Try saying that on Twitter, guys.
But I know the whole National Socialist Party. They're not really socialists. They're very different, and fascism is completely different. But
on some
aspects, you can see a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at modern day China, and modern day China is probably the closest you can get to a modern day Nazi Germany of sorts. It's there's a lot of overlapping.
Went to communist Russia as a military attaché, bought lots of cheap art from desperate people, sold it in Norway.
I imagine he made a nice wee uptick on it.
Nazis invaded Norway and told King to appoint Quisling as Prime Minister. King said he'd rather abdicate. Nazis didn't even want him, but he was the only person in the government who would work with them. Norway abolished capital punishment in 1905. 1905. Executed him anyway.
I mean, let's be serious. If you're looking at it, that is next level treason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you do remove execution, I mean, you can understand why they want your head.
Name: Philippe Pétain. I don't know. Role: puppet leader of France. Retired before World War I. Called out of retirement to fight. Great friends with Charles de Gaulle. Completely opposed to basically every action France took between wars. Felt they would weaken it if Germany invaded again. After Germany invaded, French government dissolved itself and appointed him as leader because he was the most important person left in France. Took office at 84. Sentenced to life in prison after war. Died at 95 years old. Tried to use his position as leader of France to make people go outdoors and hike more often.
I mean, going out and hiking is not exactly No, it's not exactly bad for you. Like, you know, is this like an old-fashioned get fit advert, maybe?
Whacking a scale, 10.
I mean, he was just French. There was nothing else to him. He was literally just the average Frenchman.
He was like 84, and he was fucking French. Leave him alone. He just wanted to get people out to walk.
I don't think he was that bad. Like, okay,
No.
yeah, he was a bit shit, but I think...
What do you expect from putting an 84-year-old in charge?
I don't really, like, honestly, but I'm not a fan of Charles de Gaulle in the slightest.
Yeah.
I really don't like Charles de Gaulle. I think, honestly, he's one of the worst leaders of the 20th century that didn't commit genocide.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know, he's just a bit of a shit leader.
Name, Wang Jingwei.
Wang Jingwei?
Role, puppet leader of China. Notable incidents, master calligrapher, poet and writer. Tried to assassinate the last crown prince of China. Became incredibly popular as a revolutionary hero right up until he allied with Japan. Angry at the West's exploitation of Chinese resources, so he helped Japan kick them out and do the same thing. Name now means traitor, in the same way as Quisling, or Benedict Arnold. Despite many assassination attempts on him, he died of complications from a different assassination attempt from before the war with Japan. Furious with not being able to try him as a traitor, China tried his wife for treason instead. Whacking a scale, 20.
Honestly, China was so incompetent during that stage of its history that honestly you could have put any of them up for death and you probably would have been justified because they were all fucking mental.
Yeah. Emperor Pai. I'm butchering every last one of these.
I can already hear in the comments, you guys are fucking... Yeah, we are retarded, okay, guys? Okay? You want us to admit it? Yeah, we're fucking peanuts.
Role, puppet emperor of Manchuria. Notable incidents, love England, tried to renounce royalty and moved to London so he could go to Oxford University and call himself Henry after the English king. Brought to the Empress on her deathbed as a child, but was so annoying that she had him removed so she could die in peace. Because of his position, he didn't know how to blow on soup to cool it, flush toilets, turn off faucets, or open doors until he was an adult. Was so fascinated by telephones that he called random numbers constantly to talk to unknown people. Me at age 5.
Yeah.
Was not taught anything about sex before his wedding. Had no idea what to do when he was alone with his new wife. Just left the room and left her in the bed with a concubine. Became horribly cruel after he realised he was a Japanese puppet and all of his subjects hated him. After losing power, realised how awful he had been and almost killed himself over it. Loved acting in plays. Last Emperor of China. Wackiness, 90.
That one really didn't go into how evil he is. I believe because, okay, so he was a boy king and incredibly divorced from reality. He was also like pretty much imprisoned at the, what do you call that? You know, the Forbidden City, you know, in China. He pretty much lived there and he was isolated and the only people he interacted with was eunuchs and stuff. His cruelty, you would not believe. He was, like, everyone knows, like, Joffrey and stuff, like, you know, he's very much a Joffrey, like, character, and that does not go into his evilness scale.
Yeah.
Out of these lot, out of, like, you know, Nazi allies of sorts, who would you say is I would say for me, Benito Mussolini is my most interesting one.
Yeah.
I would think, I quite like him. Bar that, I'm not too sure how you could... They're not Nazis.
No.
And you could, I have a hard time thinking of where to put them in.
I just want to put it out there as well how fucking brutal Mussolini was.
Oh yeah, Mussolini was not a nice guy in the slightest.
Absolutely brutal. So in some instances I find him more brutal than Hitler.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said about that, most definitely.
Yeah. Which people don't speak about.
No, but you know the thing is, Mussolini in modern day is seen as frankly a joke, and he most definitely was not a joke. He was he was a very brutal human being. He's possibly he's definitely up there for
Mussolini, Hitler, and Pol Pot.
Oh yeah, Pol Pot's fucking next level. So he was. I don't know. I don't know who I'm gonna. You know what? We'll talk about that at the end. Who's the most evil person in the 20th century?
Donald Trump.
Oh no! Yeah, 20th century.
20th. Oh right.
Like
Donald Trump. He was still there.
In the 20th century, he was busy fucking about with Macaulay Culkin. All right, leave Macaulay Culkin alone. He was busy at home alone. He was telling him how to get the elevator. Okay, guys.
And now the models of our website. Brought to you by neckbeardia.co.uk. Get y'all some of these titties.
Dwarf titties, orc titties, cat titties, fat titties, the gases and wastes a bit. Vampires and goblins and all the buff champions and even hentai, yeah that too. Dragons, manticores, ogres and gnomes and bugbearers and even more to go still. Undead and demons and then our friend Pally and definitely not 40k. Wood elves, dark elves and lizards and Megan the Slither and James the look cool as he stands. Beholders and kobolds and tyrants and only in a donkey with a frying pan. If you don't want no models, then no need to bother. We now have subclasses and teas. Also, Guardbros Book, go have a look. Check out the link to Ko-fi. Thank you for watching our videos and giving our channel a hand. But this is the end, our viewers and friends, so let's get back to the video, man. I fucking hate myself.
Right, on to the allies now. Mostly British and whatnot.
Name, Neville Chamberlain. Role, Prime Minister of the UK. Notable incidents, died of butt cancer. Wackiness scale, 10.
Yeah, Neville Chamberlain, I would say he's mostly just seen as a coward.
Yeah, he was a fucking coward.
There's nothing else to Neville Chamberlain. He's, the thing is, he's a very modern day politician. Very easy, like, you know what, we're just going to kick the can down the road. It's not our issue. We'll let other people deal with it.
Exactly.
That's why I view Neville Chamberlain.
Name, Winston Churchill.
My man.
Sir Winston Churchill. Role, Prime Minister of the UK. Notable incidents, actually half American. Was terrible at every subject and skill except English. And art. Was it art?
No, he loved art, so he did.
Yeah. Oh, he loved art, he did.
Yeah, he did a lot of painting, so he did when he was older.
Once given a Latin test and wrote only his own name.
Yeah, apparently Churchill had a really hard time in school, and he actually had a really hard time making friends at that age.
Did I not hear that he was dyslexic, or was that just me?
He could. Did
I dream that?
He probably could have been. He probably could have been. He did have a lot of difficulty in school and whatnot, but he was still. The weird thing is, he was still very talented.
Yeah. Fucking hated Gandhi. Tried to make the government let him die of a hunger strike.
I mean, that's not really wacky. Thatcher did that with Northern Ireland, so
Extremely clumsy. Nearly drowned in a lake. Fell off a bridge. Fell several times from horses. Fell over while getting off a ship, crashed a plane, hit by a car.
Sounds like a very typical Englishman to me.
Yeah. Extremely skilled landscape painter, complimented by Pablo Picasso. Forced Britain to invent an oxygen mask that lets you smoke a cigar because he wanted to smoke non-stop while flying.
Absolutely beast, more like.
When wife tried to make him go on a diet, he tampered with a scale to show him as lighter than he really was. Wrote an alt history novel about the Confederacy winning the Civil War. Tried to convince the USA to invade Russia after defeating Germany.
Honestly, there's so much you could
honestly,
go on
about
Churchill. There's so much more to him. On the note of that cigar one, though, that kind of reminds me of. He wasn't really in. Well, he was in World War II, so he was Curtis LeMay, the American Air Force general, and it was a good. I loved it because he was on an Air Force general, so of course he's on a plane, and he was on one with like a load of nukes or whatever, and of course he's one of those guys that you just smoke like fuck like, all day every day, and everyone would be like, yo, you really can't be smoking here, it might set off the ammunition and all that, and he turns around to them every time, he's like, it wouldn't dare. But he was being dead serious. It's like that type of mentality, that type of, but US generals just had divas, to say the least. Like, look at Patton, look at them all.
Yeah.
They were all divas in their own, like MacArthur. Jesus fuck. Churchill was most definitely a diva as well.
Oh yeah. Winston's wackiness scale, 50.
I would put him higher on the wackiness scale.
Higher.
He wasn't really... He just, the problem was, Churchill embodies
Britain.
Yeah, he embodies the English spirit. He's like, it's the same way as Roosevelt embodies the American spirit. Theodore Roosevelt, not Franklin.
Yeah.
But they embrace that every single stereotype you could throw at the English. The North FC, Winston, pure North FC.
Pure. So name Franklin D. Roosevelt. Role, President of the United States. Notable incidents. Had all pictures taken while at a desk, table, etc. to avoid being known as the wheelchair president, but his disability was publicly known even at the time.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like it's mixed about.
I didn't know.
No, with him being in a wheelchair all the time. Now, I do believe...
I didn't know for years. I don't think I found out that he was actually in a wheelchair until he was like fucking 18 or something. I was like, what?
No, I believe it was known about the people that saw him, but it was one of those ones, like, could you imagine the news these days? Even, like, political opponents that absolutely despise them, they wouldn't even talk about it because they saw it was like, no, that's a dirty trick, like, that's got nothing to do with his policies.
Yeah. Cousin of Theodore Roosevelt, who told him that he wanted him to never become president.
Lies. He was the best president ever.
Born... Who was?
Theodore. Or he was my favorite president.
Yeah, but Theodore told Franklin never to become president.
Yeah, because they had very opposing... Their style of government was very different. Franklin, I would say... with the Great Depression and all that, and him running for 3 terms of office. Yeah. Now, the stuff that he did was very much needed at that time, and I understand why they went about doing it. Yeah. But I still... you know what he's like? He's kind of like a Thatcher type. Yeah. Thatcher implemented a lot of things, a lot of reform, and these reforms were needed, but you're going to be fucking hated.
Yeah. Yeah. Born into obscene wealth, constantly cheated on his wife, intentionally overlooked British spies in the USA, whose job was to blackmail anti-war senators because he also wanted to join the war. Wackiness scale 20.
I mean, like, he couldn't actually come out and be like, yeah, I want to join the war, even though the American people at that time did not really want to. Yes. I suppose, like, with Pearl Harbor and stuff, like, you never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah. Name: Harry S. Truman. Role: President of the United States. Notable incidents: S in name does not stand for anything. Period is literally part of it. Harry S. Truman. Worked as a haberdasher, railway timekeep, clerk, mail sorter, and Shabbos goy, non-Jew who does tasks for observant Jews during Sabbath. Became a judge without a law degree. Later applied for law license while president, so he'd have something to do after leaving. Eyesight too poor to join in World War I. Got in by stealing an eye chart by memorising it. Got to be vice president only because Democrats predicted FDR would die in office and they hated his existing VP. Met FDR only twice, almost never informed of what was going on with the war. Only told about the atom bomb after becoming president. On deathbed, said only regret was creating the CIA.
As he should. Creating the CIA has probably been the worst decision of the 20th century. Honestly, I feel really bad for Truman a lot of the time. I feel like he was a career politician that was never meant to be. He was just meant to be a stand-in, and he was forced into at the worst. It's
kind of like...
but the way he performed was absolutely incredible. Like, for who he was wasn't he was a pretty much middle-of-the-road average politician. He was not meant to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like Boris Johnson, to be honest. Don't tell me I'm wrong. He got shafted. He got threw in the middle of Brexit, threw in the middle of coronavirus, and he's a pretty bog-standard fucking politician.
Bog-standard politician. He probably will not be remembered very well, to say the least.
Or very thought after.
Yeah, no, probably not. But, this is why I do feel for Truman, because I feel like he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And, he did cry whenever we first found out he was going to become president. He's like, oh my fucking God, I am not meant to be president. He really was an afterthought. Yeah. Completely.
Name: Joseph Stalin. Role: General Secretary of the USSR. Notable incidents: hated his own son so much that when the Nazis caught him and tried to have a prisoner exchange, Stalin refused. When son was killed by a Nazi by accident, came to hate him slightly less because he'd managed to die in a way that was technically heroic. Lenin wrote a letter to the government that said not to give power to Stalin. Stalin stole the letter, led Lenin's funeral procession, and talked about how great he was. Once asked by his mother what he did, he said, like the Tsar, mother complained that he should have been a priest.
I would not want him to be a priest.
Fuck no. Ordered records of his own birthday to be changed. Hired a guy to inseminate female chimps with human sperm in an attempt to build mutant soldiers.
I've never heard
I've never heard that one before in my life. Was once kidnapped by his father and forced to work in a shoe factory. Tried to have John Wayne assassinated.
Never heard of that one either.
Why John Wayne?
I don't know.
Wackiness scale 80.
I mean, John Wayne does embody the
All-American.
All-Americans at the time.
Yeah.
You know, he's very la type of shit, you know what I mean? I don't know, Stalin, horrible person. I'll throw in another one. I don't know if this one is true or if this is just, you know, people saying Stalin's evil, which, you know, Stalin was most definitely fucking evil. The story is they were very young in Georgia, and this was whenever they were like 19. They might have been a bit younger actually, because they were described more as like kids playing, but you know, they must have been at least like mid to late teens.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's it's early spring, and they come across on a frozen lake or whatever. Well, it's not completely frozen. The water's starting to move, but it's still got ice all over.
Yeah.
There's a young deer, and the deer is like, you know, sitting there screaming its head off. It's stuck, it's trapped. So Stalin goes ahead and swims across to the deer, and everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, trying to save the deer. He snapped its legs and threw it in the river. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Bro.
But that's pretty brutal.
Bro.
That was it was recorded by one of Stalin's friends or whatever, and I believe it was a woman.
Stalin had friends?
Yeah, well, when he was a teenager. I don't know if that one's true or not, but honestly,
Stalin gives me like
Stalin gives me Joseph Fritzl vibes.
Yes!
For a nation.
Yes.
That's exactly what Joseph Stalin is. He is Joseph Fritzl, but the ruler of a massive country. But they even kind of look similar with Joseph Stalin.
They do, kind of.
And I think Joseph Stalin and Fritzl have got the very same personality problems.
The overpowering,
Domineering. Yeah. I honestly do think Stalin is... The world's better off that he's dead. That's all I'm saying. Far better off.
Name Charles de Gaulle. Look, he just looks like...
He
does, he just looks...
I'm just not a fan of Charles de Gaulle at all.
Name Charles de Gaulle. Role, leader of Free France. Notable incidents. Wanted to show how Paris was retaken by the French, so he arranged a parade, but couldn't find enough French soldiers, so he got Canadians in French uniforms, still not enough, so he got Louisianans, still not enough, so he got light-skinned Algerians and put them in the back. What? Okay. Personally hated by Churchill and Franklin Roosevelt for being incredibly irritating, and most other French leaders for championing himself as the sole saviour of France.
He really did think highly of himself, even though he was... Look, French leadership in World War II was bad across the board. Let's not even get into that argument.
Yeah.
But I do find Charles de Gaulle as... He's too arrogant. Mm-hmm. You can't be that arrogant and also be so much of a fuck up at the same time. Yeah. I don't mind you being arrogant if you're good.
If you're good at it.
That's why I don't mind Churchill. Churchill was a horrible, arrogant dickhead.
Fucker, yeah.
But he got the job done,
yeah.
So I'm going to be okay with, you know, because at least he could prove that he was capable of it. Charles de Gaulle
couldn't, but yet he still had that attitude.
Yeah, he can't have that attitude and also be shit here at the same time.
Promoted to general just before France fell to Germany. Wrote several books after World War I about how trench warfare was useless and fast armour divisions were the future. Ignored by France, but Germans stole his ideas and used them in the Blitzkrieg. Absolutely fucking loved dogs, boasted of how he loved them more than humans. Same, honestly.
Honestly, you know what, Charles? You're not actually that bad. I've been
take everything that I've said and take it back.
I will take it back. Honestly, like if you kill with dogs, I'm kill with you.
Captured by Germans in World War I, escaped prisoner of war camp so many times he was moved to an ultra secure prison.
I mean, Charles de Gaulle was really big in World War I would give him a lot of credit, but. I mean, like, you know, kind of be the saviour of France is kind of cringe, not gonna lie.
Wacky scale, 20. Name, Chiang Kai-shek. Butchered it again, but...
Yeah. Like, we're not, like, you know what, we're like, wee words. Even though they're not Japanese.
Role, Chairman of Nationalist Party. Notable incidents. At 3 years old, swallowed a pair of chopsticks to see if he could. Doctor had to remove them. Spent 2 years in the Japanese army. got kidnapped by his own generals when he refused to make peace with communists while Japan invaded. Finally agreed he was released, and was released. Changed his name an unknown number of times. Only stopped because he got too famous with his current one. Married 2 women at once. One died to Japanese. He divorced the other. Then he met a woman who wouldn't marry him unless he got a divorce. Specified that he wanted to be buried in China despite not being able to leave Taiwan. Body is now on temporary display in a museum in Taiwan since 1975. American generals named him Cash My Check. Cash My Check! Oh, what awesome.
I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to assume it was dead. You know, finally, it was MacArthur that came up with that. You just know it was MacArthur. That screams MacArthur.
Name, Mao Zedong. Role, Chairman of Communist Party. Notable incidents. Married against his will in an arranged marriage, ran away to escape it, thereby ruining his new wife, who died in shame and ruin. At 68, found a 14-year-old girl concubine. Dropped out of school at age 13. Refused to bathe or brush teeth. Had at least one STD. Did nothing to avoid spreading it to his concubines.
Apparently they considered it a gift. To get his specific one.
His one.
Yeah.
Tried to send 15 million Chinese women to the USA. Got angry at Stalin once. Responded by holding a meeting with Khrushchev in a swimming pool because he didn't know how to swim. Let's just make sure Stalin doesn't show up. Let's just like go into the middle of the pool.
Yeah.
Okay. Claimed to swim a mile in 8 minutes. World record 20. During World War II, refused to use toilets, insisted on pooping outside, finally persuaded to stop post-war. Suffered from bowel problems. Wife had to learn how to stick her fingers into his ass to shovel them.
To solve them.
Oh. Shovel them makes it more interesting.
It does. I think there's more to Mao Zedong, but the problem is this is focusing mostly on World War II.
Yeah.
Not all his other
weird shit.
Wacky shit.
So, wacky scale, 90.
Honestly, you know the problem is, yes, he is wacky, but I find him, the stuff that he did, I feel like it screams of complete and utter incompetence. Mm-hmm. It's not, his wackiness is just because he had weird ideas. Whereas if you look at, like, okay, I'm going to use Himmler as the gold standard for wackiness, because he fucking was the gold standard for wackiness. At least with Himmler, his ideas were so fucking bizarre and so fucking out there. Mm-hmm. With Mao, I feel like he didn't even have, you know, he wrote that book, what was it, the small lead book of China? He wrote a book of proverbs or like quotes, and it's a load of shite. I'm telling you, it's a pamphlet.
Most of China's a load of shite.
It fucking is a load of shite. Like, I mean, it's the most dull fucking, check it out, guys. It's called like the Little Red Book of Communism or some shit like that. It's a fucking pamphlet. I'm telling you.
Name, Josip Broz Tito. Role, leader of Yugoslav partisan. Notable incidents. Had so many siblings die in infancy that no one is sure which number child he is. Failed 2nd grade. Was terrible at spelling throughout entire life. Same. Was going to move to USA. Couldn't get money for a boat. Went to a soccer game. Players kept stopping the game to argue with the ref. Tito got angry at them for wasting time, so he stole the ref's whistle, appointed himself as the new ref, and dared the players to argue with his decisions. After capturing the 5th assassin sent by Stalin, sent a letter that said, "Stop or I will send an assassin of my own, and it won't take 5 tries. Avoided anti-communist guards by borrowing a baby and let it poop in his lap so they wouldn't bother him."
Honestly, that's brilliant. That's actually...
Baby shit smells like... Baby shit's bad.
Yeah. Tito, I find him really interesting personally because he's more of like a shadowy figure. Mm-hmm. There's really not that... First of all, we don't even know if Tito is his real name. Mm. We don't actually know anything about him. He's a little weird shadowy figure. Yeah. There's not much to go on with him. Yeah. He is an enigma.
Same as Yugoslavia.
Honestly, yeah. Well, I suppose, yeah, that kind of sums up Yugoslavia.
It's just an enigma.
I'm never going to understand the hatred that Serbs and Croatians and Bosnians.
Please don't try to explain it in the comments because I'm not going to read it.
I'm just
putting it out there.
I've tried to understand them. I've spoken to a lot of Croats, and I've tried to understand, like, they do have this. The amount of hatred that you have for each other is next level. You will never experience true hatred until you've actually talked to some of these guys and asked them about what they think of the others from Yugoslavia. How the fuck did Yugoslavia even stay together for so long is beyond me.
I know. So Tito's wacky spectrum is 60.
Honestly, I think you would put him lower. It's just, for me, you don't know anything about him.
Name, William Lyon Mackenzie King. Role, Prime Minister of Canada. Notable incidents, considered to be humourless and have no charisma. So Canadian.
I don't know, I like Canadians. Canadians are not bad. I'm quite fond of the Canadians, if I'll be honest with you.
Kept his beliefs in occultism secret. Communicated with dead spirits constantly, especially his mother. Didn't want to enter World War II. Agreed to only if Britain itself was attacked. Then had to actually make good on that. Met Hitler in 1937. Believed he was gripped by good and evil, but that good would triumph, and he would lead Germany to a bright future. And he be remembered as another Joan of Arc. Still upset at Hitler's racism against Jews, though.
I mean, that kind of makes sense for him to be in the occult. I wonder if he ever talked to Hitler about the occult. Maybe, like, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, but I would love to hear, like,
Kept a shrine to his dead mother in his home. That's not that weird.
No. Well, people keep... Yeah. Well, what's the difference between someone keeping an urn in the house? An urn is essentially a shrine,
Kept and used a crystal ball. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, that's fucking weird, guys.
Saw signs of the future in not just his tea leaves, but also his shaving cream. Numerologist. Wrote in a journal every day from 1893 to 1950. Wackiness scale, 80.
I mean, I wouldn't put him that wacky. Like, yeah, he's a bit of a weird guy, but if you're going to compare him to anyone else? I'm not going to give him. I wouldn't
let him rub his crystal ball.
Yeah,
and read his tea leaves alone.
Look, he was probably just a bit too into what do you call him, Aleister Crowley.
Yeah,
that's probably what it was. And also, he might have been a closeted homosexual.
Yes,
more than likely.
Okay, and our last one. Name Håkon VII, King of Norway. After Germany invaded, was told to go to the cabinet and appointed Quisling as Prime Minister. Went to cabinet and instead told them to fuck Nazis. Told them fuck Nazis? Told them to fuck Nazis?
Well, they're very different things. Yeah. Well, you know what, actually, when Norway, sure, was it not Himmler that wanted to instate that program?
Took refuge in a small town to escape Nazis. Nazis simply blew up the entire town. Håkon survived and watched it burn to the ground. Needed somewhere to go, but Sweden announced in advance that it wouldn't take him. Spent the entire rest of his life personally hating all of Sweden.
I mean, like, I thought that was pretty standard. I thought most, like, Danes, Swedes, Norwegians, Finns all kind of hated each other. And you know what? The funniest thing is, fine, like, the Finns are going to be Finland. We got nothing to do with them.
The Finns are going to be like that?
No, the Swedes are going to be like that to the Finns.
Oh, right, okay.
For some reason, all Scandinavian countries hate
each other? Hate Finland?
They hate Finland more. For some reason, they call them the swamp Swedes. Or I don't know, it's really bizarre. I don't really get it.
Wackiness scale, 10.
Well, that was a long one.
Long fucking video. But I thought it was very interesting. There's a lot of stuff that I had no idea about.
I think, you could mix and match so much of this information and create the most bizarre villain of all time.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of like, look, it did happen. I'm very sick of mudcore. Them people that are like, if it's not exactly 100% historically accurate,
then it's not worth.
The thing is, I would use a sword, but you wouldn't have actually had this at that time. Fuck off. I'm not in the mood. I'm here to play a fantasy role playing game. I want to fuck about it. I want to have fun.
Yeah.
And with this, I do feel like, honestly, any of these people would make for great villains.
Yeah.
I feel like all of them you could incorporate in some way. Honestly, even just as like random NPCs.
Yeah.
You want to fill
encounters or stuff.
If you want to fill out the King's Court, literally just use all the Nazis higher up and maybe throw in another couple, and there you go. You've got all your characters ready, and you don't need to worry about it. They're all really bizarre, weird guys Who do you think's the weirdest out of them all?
Himmler.
I'm going to say Himmler or Goebbels, personally.
Yeah.
The thing is, Goebbels, I do not know.
Like, don't get me wrong, Hitler was weird.
Hitler was
but
really
Himmler was
weirder.
weird.
The thing is with Goebbels, I can't tell you if he believed what he was saying a lot of the time.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know, but how deep was it? Like, was he like Himmler? Himmler, I think, believed that he was...
I remember watching this documentary, and it was years ago now, and I told you about this earlier, that there's, people who look back and, like, things that either Himmler said or accounts that he was in, and all that. And they say that his traits, his personality traits, the way he talks and stuff like that, it shows a lot of dissociative identity disorder, which is nowadays multiple personality disorder, which I can 100% say.
Yeah, I could definitely
it's
see
just
that.
unmedicated. It's just it's not helped. They just let it run rampant.
What I love about the Nazi higher-ups, though, is I could almost guarantee you a good 80% of them would not have jobs in normal...
No.
If it was like a normal...
Yeah.
Normal modern democracy.
Yeah.
I just do not think... Well, I don't know, maybe Joseph Goebbels could work for the BBC, but... maybe. But you know what? Okay, we're going to be fair. We're going to say he also works for CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and every other news organisation. Honestly, you know what he is? What do you call that guy that everyone...
Max Clifford?
No, not Max Clifford. No. The guy that owns all the news organisations. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. You know the guy that owns them all? He owns a load of newspapers as well.
Oh.
You know who I'm on about?
Yeah.
He fucked off to America a few years ago. He's an English guy. Anyway, so that's kind of him. But what I've said is with Goebbels, I don't know how much of the stuff that he said did he actually 100% believe, where with Himmler, I believe Himmler almost is living in a parallel universe.
Himmler constantly lived in a fucking fever dream. That's what he did.
Also, it's hard to tell how much of it is to do with drugs.
Yeah.
Because we all know that they were wild.
That's what I mean. He lived in a fucking fever dream.
Yeah. But yeah, like this is something very different for us. I know we skimped out. We covered so many people. We went really quickly over them. There's no way, like the video's already over an hour long. There's no way we could have actually went in depth
any more than we could.
But if you guys have any other like really weird like quirks that any of these people had, would definitely love to hear them, because honestly I'm not very I'm familiar with history, but I'm by no means...
Or like little known tidbits like this that not everybody maybe knows about. Maybe you've seen it in a random obscure documentary or...
Yeah, wait, what? He was doing this? What?
Yeah. Let us know down below. And
also,
let us know if you have like based any like characters of anybody in this.
Have you used maybe... Have you
notable people from history?
Like, let's be serious. Like, everyone knows Vlad the Impaler. Like, okay, vampire, of course.
Yeah.
But there is obvious ones that you can use, like people from history that you can revamp and reuse and turn them into something in your campaign, which I think is a lot of fun. Also, if you guys have stayed this long, if you've enjoyed it, please check out the website.
Yes, please.
Because this video does not have adverts. I can
nearly guarantee
that at the time of recording. There's no way this does, and it is over an hour long, so it would really help us out if you choose to check out the website. It does help us out a lot. Any other tidbits before we end? I think we've covered everything for the most part.
Yeah, no, I literally think everything I know is on this. A lot of stuff that I didn't is on it as well.
What would your favourite one be? I don't know why. I always think it's funny anytime. Like, I can't stop talking about Himmler, but the chicken farm just cracks me anytime.
The chicken farm cracks me.
Weird. It's so bizarre.
Whenever I say my favourite, it's obviously not my favourite, but Himmler, just for the wackiness of it.
For me, I don't know. I'm a big Churchill fan. I'm a big Churchill fan.
Yeah.
I really do like Truman as well. I find Truman fascinating, but that's only because
I don't know much about Truman.
Truman, I find him fascinating more to do with I'm really into the Cold War and stuff, and you can't do the Cold War without the nuking of Japan, which was instrumental. Stalin I absolutely despise. I think he's honestly Joseph Fritzl, but
But I would say Winston is definitely
my favourite personally. Definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay,
But anyway,
that's
we're
enough.
gonna leave it there.
Let's go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
All those moments we lost in time.